Setting up your meeting for Facebook Live.
Says that it's streaming here on my end.
There we go. Awesome. There we are. Yay. Just have to go here. We're live and good afternoon and welcome to Conversations with Shauna. Today's guest is near and dear to my heart. He's my coach, my mentor, and my dear friend, Scott deMoulin with Destiny Training Systems out of Las Vegas, Nevada. And if you haven't met Scott or you haven't seen me talk about him, because I post about him quite a bit on Facebook, Scott is the mentor that CEOs, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, speakers, athletes, sales professionals, and business owners retain to create and share your message and better engage and enroll your audience to expedite your business growth. Globally, Scott is one of the elite sales, performance, speaking, and communications trainers. That's how we met. And as a speaker and trainer since 1980, Scott founded the international training and consulting company Destiny Training Systems, based in Las Vegas, Nevada. And with a career spanning over 4 decades, Scott has worked in depth as a business consultant with 500 plus companies and thousands of entrepreneurs worldwide, helping them realize gains of over $1 billion. He's worked with people such as Tony Robbins and Chet Holmes. They sought out Scott to co-create their first business mastery program and then served as CEO of their high-end business Breakthroughs International Consulting Division before returning to his boutique training and consulting company. And Scott's flagship program, Engage from Your Stage, which is where I met him, the program that literally changed my life in so many ways. He shares how to significantly leverage your sales and marketing efforts by making the shift from simply presenting your message to persuading your market, allowing you to, I can't even speak today. Oh my God, allowing you to elevate your influence and impact your income. So welcome, Scott. I'm honored to have this opportunity to interview you here today.
Thanks, Shauna. Listen, I'm honored to be here. Appreciate the invitation and the opportunity to contribute. So thank you.
Yeah, this is great. It's exciting to be on this side of it. So I have a few questions here for you today. The first one is, what do you believe is the single most important skill for entrepreneurs and business leaders to master?
Well, thanks, Shauna. That's an easy question, actually, because even though the answer or the response to that is probably counterintuitive for most, I can tell you without a doubt that 90% of your success in business and probably as well in your personal life is communications, period. How successfully are you set up, trained, and able to communicate effectively? And that means to yourself internally. It means to your immediate relationships, your family, your friends, your associates, your staff, your business, so forth, the market as a whole, your messaging and so forth. So it's easy. It's communications. And I think it was Warren Buffett who said that you can easily add 50% to your lifetime earnings by doing one simple thing, and that's to master your written and verbal communications. And I agree with him. In fact, he has, if you go to his office in Omaha, Nebraska, he has one certificate on the wall, and that certificate is his graduation from his public speaking program. And he realized very early on that regardless of what kind of business you're in, you need to communicate to your market, to your investors, to your suppliers, to your staff, to your spouse. And he realized that that is going to give him leverage of the one-to-many approach as opposed to one-to-one. And I think, Shauna, we can take it one step further. And that is, if you look at a small company called Google in 2013, they wanted to find out what were the greatest assets of their best employees. What did they do well that those who were struggling didn't do well that caused them to be peak performers? And they created a study. You can even go look it up. It's called Project Oxygen. And in Project Oxygen in 2013, what they did is they surveyed or interviewed their top performers and they rated them on 8 criteria that they had set in advance on skills that they thought were important for their job and their performance. And what they found was almost the opposite of what they expected. Obviously, Google's a technology company. So you'd think that STEM skills, which is one of the measurement criteria, standing for science, technology, engineering, and math, would be at the top of the list. And what they found out was that after they measured those performers, they found out that STEM skills was dead last. The top 2 or 3, communication skills, coaching, leadership, creative problem solving, what most people classify as soft skills. And I find it funny, Shauna, because, back in the day, 4 decades, when I got into the business and I was teaching soft skills, people frowned on it. And the reason they did is because, well, they said, Scott, there's no measurable ROI on soft skills. And I kind of agree, there's no specific measurable return on investment. However, it impacts your business globally. So once you become an effective speaker, once you become an effective leader, once you become an effective staff person, communications is the key ingredient that allows you to perform at that level. And I think one last study was on, I think it was LinkedIn, who said, what are the top criteria now that companies are posting and looking for when they're looking to hire new staff members. And sure enough, the soft skills of speaking and problem solving were, the top 2 or 3 listed in just about every ad that was placed on LinkedIn. So no doubt, really easy communications. Once you master that, like Warren Buffett said, you're going to give yourself an exponential return on investment.
Yes. Yes. And you know what? I have to say, for those listening, that's what Scott taught me. 25 years of sales in the HVAC industry. I can't even tell you how much training I've taken over the years, and that has not come up.
Yeah.
And it's been working with Scott and learning that, how for me to effectively communicate with my customers and communicate from the stage has just, it's shifted things. I was on a call this morning with a potential corporate client, and that's what it all came down to. It was communication, and confidence with their techs out in the field. It all comes back to that, not how to close a sale, but let's talk about just actually having those conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. And I think you said it really well. The second criteria you mentioned was confidence. Well, what gives you confidence? There's this statement that we say that learning takes confidence. And if you have too little confidence, you don't think you can learn. And if you have too much, you don't think you have to. And both of those are traps, as you can probably imagine. And what gives you the confidence is once you learn how to effectively communicate, once you learn how to effectively message or do copy or do headlines or communicate with your market or your staff or your team or even your kids, that's the leverage that you need. And that it gives you the confidence once you know how to do that effectively. Because as you have heard from me say many times, that fear is usually, there's a description in the dictionary or the Wikipedia or whatever you use, that says fear is just the anticipation of something you're about to do you don't feel prepared for. So if people feel prepared to communicate effectively, they obviously are going to feel more confident, and they're going to be more efficient and less afraid of entering into dialogues or conversations with others.
Exactly. Yes. Oh, well put. Well put. I love it. What key areas should people focus on to grow their business?
That's a great question. I think I think there's 3 primary criteria, and that is that I learned this when I was on the panel of experts with the marketing wizard, self-proclaimed wizard, Jay Abraham. And Jay used to say that there's 3 primary ingredients that most functions or tactics of growing your business fall into. One is, how do you gain more clients? And that's where a lot of people spend most of their time, energy, and resources. The second is, how do you increase the transaction value? And the third is the frequency of repurchase or return buyers from the clients that you already have. And what's sad, Shauna, is that most people spend most of their energy, I would say 80% plus of their time and energy, on the first category. How do I go out and get on social media? How do I advertise? How do I market? How do I sell new customers? And that's important. You must still do that. But most of them miss the last two categories, and that's working on their transaction value. And I'll talk about what that means. And the third is how do we get those people to come back more and more often? And I think the biggest shift you have to make is shift from being transactional to being relationship oriented in your enrollment process. We have a term called enrolled, not sold. And that means that, how do you get people to, first of all, be a customer? And that comes from something we say awareness precedes understanding, and understanding precedes change. First of all, they have to be aware of you. Second of all, they have to understand what is your product, your service, what problem do they have that your offering solves for them. So once you get the awareness and the understanding and the education for them, and they're a client, then you want to focus on the other two categories simultaneously. Now, that's an important word. You want to do these at the same time, and that's going to give you compounded growth. So what do I mean by that? If you get the customer, and now you look at your packaging, your bundling, your offering, your upsells, your downsells, how can you get people to either purchase more while they're making the opportunity to do business with you, or how can you make your margins greater so you have less fixed expenses and higher sales price, and the margin grows. And the third is obviously, instead of them buying from you once or twice a year, how do you get them to come back 2, 3, 4, 5 times a year? Now, that doesn't work in every industry because some products they're only ever going to buy once a year. But, obviously, if you have a product or service they can return for, you want to compound that. Now, let's say you increase your efforts across the board in getting more clients, raising your transaction value or your frequency of repurchase. If you did it across the board by 10% and your previous sales were, say, $1 million, if you increase across the board, what is your increase in revenues if you do that across the board 10%? Now, it's kind of a trick question because most people would say, well, if your revenues are $1 million before, it's 1.1 million. In common sense, that's true. But the key is if you get 10% more clients, 10% higher transaction value. So instead of, say, $1,000 every time they buy, it's $1,100. And you get them to purchase not once a year, but twice a year, or 1.2 times per year, in this case, 1.1. If you get those across the board, 10% increase of effort, where you're working smarter, not harder, you get a compounded growth rate of 33.3%. And the key is you must do them at the same time. Most companies go out and spend all their money competing for new clients. It's a very expensive way to grow your business. And it doesn't give you the compounded growth by taking care of the customers you already have, upsell, downsell, bundling, packaging, etc., or getting them to trust you, have rapport and confidence with you. You keep the promises you make. You don't make promises you can't keep. High integrity causes them to want to come back and purchase from you more in that relationship. You've already made the investment of getting them as a client. So why not take good care of them so they want to come back, and you have other offerings or opportunities to service them? So that's probably the most important thing, is to, focus on not just getting new clients, but taking care of the ones that you have.
Yes. Oh, I lost you for a minute there.
Oh, sorry. Am I not there?
There, now you are. So focusing on the ones you have, that's exactly it.
Yeah, and it's funny because you've already invested the money to capture them. Why not over service, not oversell, but over service them to the point where they realize the value you bring and they want to continue to receive the benefits.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. What do you mean by enrolled, not sold?
That's a great question. I think if you ask most people, what is their perception or reference of a salesperson? And in most cases, Sean, it's not positive. They think, I don't want to be sold, right? So, they do this, and they do anything they can to avoid the feeling or the interpretation that someone's trying to extract dollars from their wallet as quickly as possible. So most people have a negative connotation towards other salespeople, and yet there's a great deal of very heart-centered businesses and entrepreneurs and coaches and consultants who are out there to give value for others, but they have a hard time selling their product or service because they have a negative connotation towards sales, because they themselves perceive sales as icky, if you will. So when I mean enrolled, not sold, the last thing you want to do is to start with your solution and try and convince or lay out a bunch of facts, features, and benefits and stack closes and trying to convince them to do business with you. My belief is if you practice something that we call engagement, where you ask, don't tell, you shift from presenting your offer or presenting your talk or presenting your marketing or sales opportunity into a position of persuasion. And the way we do that is to do something I call ask, don't tell. Instead of presenting, ask them, can you see the value of this? Or what's it going to cost you if you don't shift your strategy, your tactics, your marketing, your sales, or messaging approach? And if you can ask, you maintain engagement with your audience, whether that's in print ad, digital ad, from your platform, from your online presence, your social media, your Zooms, your webinars, and so forth. If you can persuade them to view the opportunity, the offer, or the package through their desires and not try and sell them for yours. So if you can get them to think and perceive that, why would I need that? Or how is this going to benefit? Or how is this going to save me money? Or, improve my ability to market, sell, whatever they're doing, then they're getting enrolled for their reasons and not convinced or sold for yours. So I really look at it as shifting from, trying to sell somebody to literally leading the witness to identify opportunities for improvement in their life. And that's what enrolling for their reasons means. So that's what we call it, enrolled for their reasons, not sold for ours.
Yes. And since I've been practicing this and putting it into place myself,
Yeah. And doing a great job, I might add.
thank you. It's such a huge difference because before we would make little statements or say this or say that, right? We're telling, but now if somebody turn it into the question and like you said, you're getting that engagement, the conversation, it shifts and you're building that trust and rapport.
Yeah.
That is so important. And I love it because it's what you teach and what you're sharing is it's so powerful. It's game changers and I want to use a universal here and say anyone who's having that conversation where they're looking at enrolling people. Thank you so much. So Scott, in your work with speakers, what are the most common mistakes people make when speaking to groups?
Well, there's a couple of them. First of all, they don't prepare, which means that they experience fear or anxiety or intrepidation about what they're about to do. And like I mentioned before, fear just simply means that you're about to do something you don't feel prepared for. So get prepared. Now, some people say, well, I'm really heart-centered, Scott. I just want to wing it and speak from my heart. Well, that may serve you because you can be more congruent. The challenge is if you do that and you don't follow at least an outline that has a proper syntax and that says the right things in the right order, there's no beginning, middle, or end for your audience, whether it's online or in print or from the stage. There's no beginning, middle, or end for them to follow. And so it's very confusing for them. And the second part is like a lot of times the mistake they made is they get up and they talk about themselves, their product, their company, their solution. So how many times, and I'll ask the audience, how many times do you get in front or you're an audience member and you hear the speaker say, I'd like to start off by telling you a little bit about myself or my product or my service or my solution for that matter. And the challenge is, Sean, is we haven't yet built trust, confidence, rapport, or engagement. So literally, we want them to say, me too, not so what. We don't want them to say, I don't care about you, your problems, your resume, your experience, your wisdom. I've got my own stuff to think about. So the first part of your getting on stage is to engage them through questions, through, aha or wow statements that cause them to perceive you as a credible authority figure. And credibility comes from two things. It comes from knowledge and being trustworthy. So I think, like when we teach the anatomy of a speech, the first 40% is focused on how do you build trust? How do you build rapport? How do you gain engagement from that audience and cause them to participate as opposed to getting them to say, so what, and they check out. So biggest mistakes are making it about yourself, your product or service. A lot of times, speakers say, well, I want to get my point across. I want to sell or enroll. Well, I think there's a great saying that I heard first from Stephen Covey. It says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So build that trust, build that rapport, build the credibility, build the authority, and 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 focus on the problems, the needs, the wants of your audience members, because that's going to cause them to salivate for your solution and lean in and listen, and it's going to set up the desire for that solution. The one key ingredient and measurement tool that's going to determine your success your success is the feeling you leave with your audience. That's what's going to determine if they're inspired to buy, enroll, march, donate, contribute. Whatever it is you're looking for from them is going to be determined by the feeling that you achieve leaving them with. And again, it's not about you, it's about them.
Yeah. Well, that was so powerful what you said right there. And I believe that that's a big shift when you're speaking to people, because it's not about you. And I just, for me, my little experience with speaking, we get so nervous about, okay, what we're going to say, how we're going to say it, who we're going to, and we don't put ourselves at what's the feeling we're leaving the audience with. We can get up in our own nervous little mess, our own little hot mess.
And I think the other mistake they make is they think it is about them. It's about looking good or sounding good. And that causes you to become more self-conscious. And now now you're not present because you can't be with your audience. You're thinking about, oh, did that sound okay? Or what am I going to say to get this across? Or do I look okay? What are people thinking of me? Nobody cares. You want to know the best answer to that when you ask, like, what do people think of me? They don't. They don't think of you. They're thinking of themselves. So get over it. Don't spend any time thinking about what other people think.
I love it. That's awesome. Why do most people fear change, and what is the best way to keep pace with change?
Good question. I'll tie that to my favorite quote as
Oh, I
well,
was just going to ask you that
Shauna.
too. What's your favorite quote?
Yeah, and my favorite quote I discovered when I was in business partnership with Bob Proctor, who's an amazing thought leader out of Canada, as you are. And he shared with me a quote that made so much sense, and I think I use it in just about every dialogue or conversation or keynote speech or training that I do. And it's from Eric Hoffer. And Eric used to say, in times of change, the learners will inherit the earth, while the learned find themselves beautifully equipped to live in a world that no longer exists. And I think, Shauna, now that's truer than it's ever been. Change is coming so fast and furious, and it's a great question. How do you deal with that? You may or may not be aware of that, but 90% of the world's data has been introduced in just the last 3 years. So think about that. In all the eons of time and all the data that's out there, 90% of that data was introduced to us as human beings in the last 3 years. Do you think that might cause some stress, some resistance, some confusion, some frustration? So how do you deal with that? Well, first of all, don't be afraid of change. Change really, we teach through our programs, we teach a 7-step process for, what are the psychological responses to change? We become uncomfortable because it's different. Just like when you go to the gym and work out and you work a muscle, it becomes uncomfortable because you haven't worked it before. So embrace discomfort. Most people say, if I ask you in the audience the question, do you like change? And a lot of people would say no. And the truth is they love change. The difference is they don't like to be changed, meaning they don't like it forced on them. However, if you ask them what's been their happiest time in the world or in life, it's when you grow. And change causes you to expand and grow. But there's going to be feelings of discomfort. There's going to be feelings of isolation and being alone, especially if you're an entrepreneur or solopreneur. There's going to be feeling of I don't have enough resources, time, money, advertisements, staff, whatever it is. And there's going to be times that people are going to be at different levels of readiness. And the biggest mistake that most people make, Shauna, is that either they resist change and push it away because it's a little bit uncomfortable, even though they know they're growing. But most of them revert back to old habits. They think, well, that's my comfort zone, so I'm going to go back to the way I've always done it because I know how to do it. But if you look at the people who are growing the fastest, they think way outside of their current circumstances, and that change is what allows them to expand, grow, and be more successful.
I love it. That, you know what? I love that you said that because I think of myself and just the changes I've gone through.
It's
And they're
scary, isn't it?
going through another one right now. And it's like, oh my God. But I know that just as I go through this, that on the other side of this, it's going to be like, wow, that was amazing.
Yeah, and you've done a great job. I've watched you grow because you took, what was taught in, the speakers intensive and you applied it immediately. And then you audited the program so that you could get the repetition and reinforcement, which is so critical. That's usually a sign of an achiever. We learn best through conditioning and programming. And if you don't continue to repeat it, most of those people will fall back into old habits.
Yeah.
And to watch you integrate it and go out and put yourself on the line and start teaching programs to people in your industry and watch you have success with it. Most people would never get out of the box because they either have fear or anxiety or doubt or uncertainty about their capabilities rather than just putting themselves on the line, doing it, seeing the results, and then enhancing what went well and eliminating what didn't work. And I think you've been a master of that. It's been fun to watch you grow.
Aw, thank you. And I have to say, Scott, too, as you were talking, it popped in my head. And I think with some people too, well, they'll take a program like Engage. That's such a powerful program that, like you said, if you take it, you learn it, you implement even the audit, right? Because of hearing it again, and then you implement it and move forward with it. But there's one step more to that for me. The secret to my success. And I love it. I always say, like, I'm the secret sauce. But here's what I've really discovered. It's working with a mentor like yourself, that it's like together we're the secret sauce. Because on my own, this would have been a struggle. I can
Yeah.
honestly say with every fiber in me, I couldn't have done this on my own
Yeah.
because I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
And so it's been taking that one step forward and then working with you on a one-on-one, on a mentor level, on a higher level, I guess I want to say, on a newer level, was where the mastery came in for me. And I think that's really important, is to find a mentor like yourself who you really connect with, who can help you get from where you are to where you want to be, where you have the clear goals and know where you want to go. And that person to support you and guide you and believe in you and push you when you need to be pushed. I think that's what's really important, because a lot of people I've talked to, that's what they're missing. They're trying to figure it out on their own, or they've teamed up, or were someone who they thought could get them to where they were. They're not having the return on the investment they expected. They've spent money, they're struggling. So, and that's where working with you, for me personally, has been just the most amazing experience. It's been priceless. Like, it really has, because now I see that I'm back in an industry that a year ago, I literally read my diary this week, my journal of a year ago, and going back into the HVAC industry wasn't even on my plan for last year.
Yeah.
And now here I am, and I'm thriving, and I'm loving it, and I'm where I'm meant to be. And yes, I did the work and everything, but I needed you and your guidance and your expertise to help me get there.
Well, thanks, Sean. I'm flattered by your kind words and comments. Thank you so much. And the only reason I believe in what you're saying is because that's how I went from zero to hero in a very short order. Because, when I got into the industry, I said, you know what, rather than going to work for somebody or starting my own business and attending seminar after seminar, hoping the next one is the magic wand that's going to change my life, I said, who are the best people that I want to learn from? And instead of going to their seminars, I became business partners with them. So I went and worked, for 5 years as a trainer and as a franchise owner for Tony Robbins, for Anthony Robbins. And then I became on the panel of experts for Jay Abraham. I became business partners with Bob Proctor. I was the managing partner for John Astor's business growth consulting company called One Coach. So yeah, I figured, what is the best way to collapse decades into days or decades into weeks or years, rather than having to go through the school of hard knocks, which most people do. And unfortunately, and I'm really sad to see that a lot of people place their faith in a guru or a seminar, and they think that's the one that's going to make a difference. And they constantly are looking outside themselves. And the truth is, it can't be outside yourself, and seminars don't work. Interestingly enough, I have a seminar and training company, but I don't rely on seminars. It's the repetition, the reinforcement, the conditioning over time, which is like when we do high-end business growth consulting, when we do private mentorships with people like you, it's the ongoing support, accountability, repetition that causes you to get to the level of mastery. And instead of trying to piece together, it's kind of like an octopus. The octopus has a body, but they have 8 arms. Rather than having those arms being disconnected from a different guru or speaker or trainer and trying to put it all together, have the core of the body and the extension of those arms be from the same source, so that you're mastering something and not just dabbling in it, hoping that magic wand is the next, win for you. So yeah, I'm frustrated. There's a lot of people out there who spend a lot of money with a lot of people, hoping that that's going to make them get rich quick. But the truth is, one of the things I respect most about you is you did the work and you had the proper guidance to make sure you were focused on doing the right thing in the right order at the right time with the right resources. And that really is the science behind getting rich or wealthy in your business. So
Yeah, you just nailed it. It's the right things in the right order. The syntax is so powerful, and I didn't realize that until I started working with you. And now that's what I talk about with my clients, is like the right, asking the right questions in the right order to get the results you want.
yeah,
Perfect. I
no
love
doubt
it.
about it.
Let's talk about what's up and coming for you. You've got exciting stuff on the horizon.
Well, it's I think I've gotten to a place in my life where the most important thing for me is at this point is my legacy. And that is not just doing another seminar or taking on another business growth consulting client who sells widgets or products that, yeah, it might change the world a little bit. My goal is really to work with people like you who are out there making a difference. Like if I can work with one company, I influence one company and their team and their staff and their clients. But if I can work with, 10 or 12 or 15 really key people that I want to play with, then guess what? Through the processional effect, when you drop a stone in the water, if I can impact the water, those people that are there, those ripples, go out to the shore and they reverberate back and forth. So my legacy at this point is to, number one, we're going to continue to do our engage from your stage, boot camps for speakers and people who want to leverage the one-to-many approach. But I think the most important product that we're going to offer this year is called our Dash 2024 program. And that is, I'm going to select, 8 companies who apply and find ways to contribute just with those 8 people. So we're going to combine the best of communications, the best of sales, the best of messaging and marketing, the best of mentoring and coaching those people over a 12-month period, combined with masterminding, meaning that they'll come to our training facility here in Las Vegas, and we're going to meet 4 times a year, and combined with the resources that are in the room, 7 other companies who can also contribute to your growth and success. So we're going to create and curate a really fun, supportive, accountable, really intelligent group of 8 people to come together in this mastermind. And we're going to go on this journey together, because it's more fun to do it with someone else, and you're more likely to do the action items that you commit to in between meetings, because you'll do more for others than you will for yourself. So the Dash 24 program is my baby this year, and that's where my focus is going to be. So I'm looking forward to curating a really cool group of people to play with.
I love it. That's exciting. So anybody that watches this interview, if they want an opportunity to apply for this incredible program, where would they go to apply?
Well, the only 2 landing pages we have, if you're looking at speaking, is engagefromyourstage.com.
Yep.
And the mentoring / mastermind program, which is going to be a year-long program, is DASH 2024.com. So Dash 2024, you can go there, view the landing page. If you're curious, if you're committed, and you're coachable, and you're really looking forward to collapsing that, school of hard knocks years into, months or at least 1 year, then if you get curious about that, simply fill out the job form and we'll set up a call to see if it's appropriate for you, because it's not inexpensive. It's not for everybody. And those people who commit to it, we want to make sure there's value and benefit, first of all, for you. And second of all, that you're a good fit for the group, because this organism is kind of like the octopus with 8 different extensions. this organism is going to be curated so we make sure that people support and hold each other accountable for compounded growth.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. Your how you say compound, what is it? Decades into days.
Yeah.
It's that I love that analogy. And so that program, oh my God, it's gonna be so phenomenal. That's gonna be taking off starting in March. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have less than 30, about 30 days before kickoff, and that's the first, you know, virtual meeting. And then our first in-person meeting will be here in Las Vegas in April. So we'll meet 4 times for 2.5 days, do hot seat experiences, go out to do some really cool networking dinners together. But it's really here for personal growth, and we stretch and push them pretty hard while they're here. And we'll do trainings for the group based on the topics we identify are necessary in between. They also get one-on-one calls with me as their mentor and coach, and a lot of support materials that we can't share yet that are secret to support their growth for the entire year. But we want to give them what I call or refer to, Shauna, untethered access to someone who's been there before, either in my businesses that I've grown and merged and sold or taken public, or in the 500 plus businesses that I've now mentored, consulted, and coached for, because there's few businesses and over 100 industries that I've worked in that I haven't learned a lot of the challenges and issues, and as well as the solutions for those challenges that we can certainly support just about anyone in any different industry who comes to play with us.
I love that. And I love that this is such an incredible opportunity. And I love that it's 8 people versus a high-end mastermind like this, where some of them have like 20, 30, 40, 50 people, and they don't even have the opportunity to have one-on-one calls with you or one-on-one training with you. So this is such a phenomenal opportunity.
Yeah, no offense, but the larger masterminds simply don't have the results of a smaller, more intimate group. I was asked to speak, I won't say who, but a keynote for a huge mastermind group. There were 220 people who joined the mastermind for like $50,000 a year. And here's the challenge. They're sitting at a round table with 7 or 8 other people who are in the mastermind, brainstorming and masterminding their challenge in a hot seat situation. Yes, there can be 1 or 2 good ideas that come from that. Here's the challenge. There's no continuity. There's a disconnect, because what happens is the next time you come back, you're sitting at a different table, maybe with another group of 8 people, and you have to share your story and get started all over again. And the reason we keep it at 8 is because that's what works. Meaning that those 7 other companies or entrepreneurs are going to be very intimately aware of your challenges, your opportunities. They're going to be on the lookout in between to supply resources, ideas, references, or referrals to your company. And when you come back, we're going to hold those people accountable for doing what commitments they made from the last time. And even though that may feel or sound uncomfortable, that's what works. Because most people will do more for others. They won't hold themselves accountable to, achieve the commitments or execute on the commitments that they made. But if they know they have to come back and report on them to the rest of the group, they're going to be embarrassed if everybody else, says, here's what I did, here's the results, here's what I discovered, here's the success I had, here's the challenges I faced. Now, how do we work on those and get you to the next level? But if you come back and you have nothing to report, that's going to be embarrassing. So yeah, group accountability is real important. And if those people are familiar in a small, intimate group, and we're curating to make sure that the people in that group are the kind of people who contribute to the rest of the group as well. So that's why a small, intimate group of 8 or less really works.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. That's awesome. And you're engaged from the stage. I'm excited because there's one coming up February 20th to 23rd at your new location there in Las Vegas. I will be joining you for that one, auditing it. So I'm all excited about that. And then you have some more dates for that too.
Yeah, it's ironic because we actually have 2 openings for the February program, which is very rare because the last 5 have sold out well in advance. We announced it late because we wanted to kick off the year with one, but we do still have 2 spaces for the February program. The next program after that, Shauna, is May 14th through 17. And then we haven't announced the other dates. We do have them set on the calendar, but we have a couple more dates for 2024. So if they are interested, if someone like you is interested, go to engagefromyourstage.com and find out what the opportunity is. And if it resonates with you and you want to have a call to discover if there's value, fill out the jot form and we'll set up a call through our calendar link and connect and get your questions answered.
Yeah, excellent. Highly recommend everything Scott does, I like to say. But if you're a fit with Scott, trust me, the journey's magical. It's going to be incredible. I love the results because that's what I feel. For the first time, I feel everything's been really results driven as well, right? It's the excitement and I'm having fun. I didn't
Yeah.
think I would have this much fun working with a mentor and building a business. Like it's just, yeah, it's been incredible. And I'm honored that you were here today and I got to interview you because I just love and adore you and everything you do. And I can honestly say some universals, people, if you'll learn those with Scott, but I can say them when it comes to you.
Yeah, that's one of the communication tools we teach, because most people, most of their problems come from miscommunication when they don't even realize they're doing it. So, listen, I was honored to be here, Shauna. Thanks for having me. Flattered at any time I can contribute to you and or your following, because that's why I'm here. It's my one of my sayings from the program is we hope that you can master your message so that you can move your audience and so you can make a bigger difference. So thanks for the opportunity to have a stage or a platform to contribute to your team.
Thank you so much. We'll
My
talk.
pleasure.
Take care, everybody. Bye.